What's going on, guys? Your boy Amazing. We're back with another video, and in today's video, guys, we're gonna be ranking the festival units from order of release in terms of how good they are in the general game of 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross. So let's get into the video. Before we actually hop into the video, make sure to subscribe to your boy Amazing. We are on the road to 10k subscribers, and at the time of recording this video, I'm at 7.93k subscribers on the YouTube channel. Turn on post notifications if you want to stay up to date with anything 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross related. And with that out of the way, let's hop into the video. Alright, so as you guys can see here, I have the tier list maker set up, and I have all 6 festival units, including Lolly Merlin as well, on the list here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go over each unit, and then I'm going to rank them in terms of where I believe they are in the general game of 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross. So this is like all content, not just PvP. So we got to include PvE, PvP, tower, like all the events, like anything that's like all around gameplay. We're gonna be ranking them in. So let's start with the first unit, gonna be Lost Vein Meliotis. We're doing it in order of release. So Lost Vein Meliotis, he's still good to this day, I'm not gonna lie. Lost Vein Meliotis was the first festival in the Grand Cross, and he still stacks up to this day. He's not that bad. So let's actually just go over his kit, and then I'll show you guys where I'm going to rank him. So he's going to be SSR rarity, red attribute. For Lost Vein Meliotis, his passive rebate increases the ranks of all the hero skills when the hero takes critical damage during the enemy turn. This passive actually coincides with his crit resistance. Because he has 0% crit resistance, he's able to get crit. He does actually gain some crit resistance on Super Awakening. So if we actually find it here, yeah, 12% on Super Awakening. But he still only has a 12% chance to not get crit, right? Like other than that, he will get crit from people that have high crit chance. And so that kind of coincides with his passive, where he's going to increase his skill ranks and actually get his cards ranked 3, which is going to be really good. So for his first skill here, he's going to inflict damage equal to 500% of attack on one enemy. Fills the ultimate move gauge by 2 orbs. So basically how this works, it's just like Green Escanor, where like when you do the attack, you fill gauge after your attack has hit the enemy. So that's pretty good. Division impact right there. The second card right here is going to inflict charge damage equal to 325% of attack on all enemies. And this is actually a really good card as well. If you guys have seen this card in action, it's just really good. Shreds through like most units in the game on an AoE card, because it just does so much damage, man. So that's going to be really good right there. And then for his ultimate, he's going to inflict secret technique damage equal to 300% of attack on all enemies, and deals damage with attribute regardless of attribute advantage regardless of the attribute. So basically how secret technique works, it's kind of like Gogeta from Dokkan. It's attacks effective against all types, right? 300% AoE, and you deal damage based on how many cards you have in hand. And the multiplier for secret technique actually increases from 1 out of 6 to 6 out of 6. So you get 8% per card in hand at 1 out of 6. At 6 out of 6, you're going to get 60% damage per card in hand, and your ultimate's going to be at 450%. So Lost Vein Meliotis, when like really high duped, he's going to be really strong on your team, right? Like he's just going to be able to wipe the entire field. And he's just going to be such a good unit for everything in the game, right? So that's pretty good right there. But now that we've went over Lost Vein's kit, where do I rank him on the festival tier list? You guys have to remember, before I actually put the rankings, this is my opinion. Another thing as well is that these festivals, they're all good still to this day. Just because I put one in the bottom like half of the list, or if I put the one at the top, doesn't mean they're good or like, you know, best units in the game. So on and so forth, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take Lost Vein Meliotis, and I'm gonna put him in the 6th slot. And the reason I'm actually putting Lost Vein Meliotis in the 6th slot is just because the other units are just better, right? Like they've actually just aged a lot better. Lost Vein Meliotis to this day, he's only really used in PvP as a backline unit for CC. For PvE content, he is pretty good on like farming, because he is like able to get his ultimate and stuff, so he's not that bad. But for general PvE content, you can get stuff done faster without a Lost Vein Meliotis. You could have like a Hauser, and he'll do like fighting with farming. He'll do a lot better than Lost Vein actually. So I don't think Lost Vein is going to be too crazy for farming, but he's not a bad unit in PvE as well. Like in PvE, he's really good. PvP, he's good as a backline. He's not really like too oppressive in PvP though. Who only really having CC just because he has high base CC. That's his only really use in PvP right now. So that's where I'm gonna give Lost Vein the 6th slot. Let's hop into the next unit, being Goddess Elizabeth. So Goddess Elizabeth is going to be the next unit we're going over. She came out on the 1-year anniversary for JP. So let's actually go over her kit and see how well she is, or how well she stacks compared to the other festivals. Goddess Elizabeth is going to be SSR rarity, blue attribute, and Goddess race. For her passive here, when an ally dies, they are revived with the same amount of HP that they had before dying. Limit once applies when entering battle. Dying by reflect effect nullifies revive and uses it up. So basically how Goddess Elizabeth works is that if a unit dies from a specific percentage of health, they will revive at that same percentage of health. So that's really good right there. It allows you to have a revive on your team at all times when using Goddess Elizabeth, which is very potent. It can actually come in clutch for you a lot of the time, right? She's really good because of that. For her first skill here, she's going to cancel stances on one enemy and inflict damage equal to 250% of attack, then stuns for 2 turns. This card is actually really good. It's kind of like a Petrify, but instead of petrifying on rank 2 and rank 3, it's going to stun for rank 2 and rank 3 and also cancel stances on both of these cards, which is really good. This card, I would say, like in terms of the viability of this card, it's actually very good because stunning is a lot better than petrifying in my opinion, because you can actually apply debuffs while you've stunned the enemy. With petrify, you can't actually attack them at all. When you stun an enemy, you can still attack them, which gives you more flexibility in terms of cards you can use, right? So Goddess Elizabeth stun card, top tier card in the game, really good. So that's going to be like one of the best cards in the game right there. For her second skill here, she's going to create a barrier around all allies equal to 300% of attack for 2 turns. When attacked, no bonus damage effect will be applied, excluding rupture. So basically, this card right here, I would say this card is like second best card in the game. Second best or third best card in the game. Goddess Elizabeth right here has a card, it has a shield here that nullifies all card effects, excluding rupture. So if you think about this, any card effect in the game, Secret Technique, Amplify, Pierce, I don't know any other ones, like literally anything, like any card effect in the game. So Goddess Elizabeth's card right here makes it so that they don't do extra damage based on their card. If they have an amplified card and they have buffs, it's not going to do extra damage. If they have a Pierce card and they're running the Pierce team, it's not going to do extra damage. She just nullifies all strategies with based on card damage for this team, right? It's really good, and it just counters like most of the meta that used to run around in PvP. She actually stopped the Mono Red and Pierce team initially when she came out, so that's very good right there. For ultimate, she's going to recover HP of all allies equal to 30% of the max HP, reflects 40% of damage taken over 2 turns, then heals for half of the damage reflected. This can actually scale up from the multiplier being 5 to 10%, and scales up to 70% at 6 out of 6, and then 120% on the reflect multiplier itself, which is actually very good. So Goddess Elizabeth is going to be doing a lot. Where would I rank her on the tier list? Goddess Elizabeth, in my opinion, is going to be the best festival unit in the game. And the reason for that is because she provides so much for the team in either PvE or PvP scenarios. All content in the game Goddess Elizabeth is able to clear. She's able to clear final bosses. She's able to clear like literally everything about Goddess Elizabeth except farming. I would say the only thing she kind of lacks in is farming because of the way she works. But she has revive. She's really good in hard content. PvP, she's always in the meta. PvE, she's able to clear almost all content in the game, providing you that revive. You have a stun, reflect shield as well. At 6 out of 6, you're able to like nuke you could actually nuke you can actually nuke some like Tower Trials like stages with her reflect alone. So not even like damage based, it's just them doing damage to you, you reflecting it and just healing all your HP back. So Goddess Elizabeth, definitely the best festival unit in the game. She's not the best unit in the game, but she's definitely the best festival of these 6 in the game at the moment. So the next unit we're going to be going over is going to be Festival King here. So Festival King, he's going to be a really good unit as a festival unit as well. He came out right after Goddess Elizabeth, so it wasn't too much longer after she came out. But Festival King is going to be SSR Rarity, Blue Attribute, and Fairy Race. For his passive here, Awakened Power, enemies with 2 or more of the effects Poison, Bleed, Shock, and Corrosion become unable to remove debuffs using recovery skills. If there are 3 of the above debuffs, additionally decrease 1 orb from the ultimate move gauge at the end of the ally's turn. So basically how this works is if you apply 2 or more debuffs on the enemy, they're not able to actually cleanse, which is very good. And then the second thing is that if you apply 3 of the debuffs, they're actually going to lose ultimate move gauge. So this was kind of like an alt rush counter at the time when Festival King came out. So that was like pretty good right there. And Festival King worked really well with the free-to-play Hendrickson that came out at the time as well. So he's going to be very good and very synergistic with that unit. But for his first skill here, inflicts damage equal to 450% of attack on one enemy and releases 130% damage. Releases deals additional damage using remaining damage in the shock, poison, and bleed debuffs. So that's going to be very good when doing extra damage when King actually applies poison on his second card here, which we'll actually go over. But this card will do a lot more damage when you stack him with Green Demon Hendrickson, because you're going to be able to release 130% of all the debuffs remaining on the enemy team. So that's going to be very good, man. So that's really good right there. But what we're going to do now, let's go to the True Spirit Chastity. This is going to be King's second card. Inflicts damage equal to 205% of attack on all enemies and poisons for 3 turns. So poison is basically an additional damage equal to 60% of damage dealt at the end of every turn. So it's going to be pretty good. You doing that little extra damage, right? You're going to be able to do that, and then also use the release card, which is actually going to do a lot of damage coinciding with this card right here. For Festival King's ultimate, he's going to inflict damage equal to 300% of attack on all enemies, gain an Abyss effect, and take 50% less damage for 2 turns. Abyss inflicts damage equal to 60% of damage dealt on all enemies at the start of the enemy's turn. Only applies the Abyss effect on the last hero used. So that's going to be very good right there. Abyss actually scales in the multiplier here. It starts at 6% on level rank 1 on the ultimate right there, and it can scale up to 60% at 6 out of 6, 450% on the actual damage itself at 6 out of 6 as well. Festival King is going to be a really good unit, man. So on the tier list on where I'd rank Festival King, I'm going to rank Festival King in the 5th slot. So this is a toss-up. Because there's another unit that can be 5th and can be 4th. It's going to be like a toss-up between them when I actually go over that unit. But Festival King, I would say he's in the 5th slot because he does have viability in PvE. He is the Super Awakening Coin stage now. He's the main unit for that. Just like how Lost Vein was the main one for the Anvil dungeon. Festival King's ultimate is able to wipe the entire field and also kill the final stage if you have him 6 out of 6. So that's going to be very good. In PvP, he's actually very good if you have him willed out. Festival King team still has very high CC in the game and is able to compete with a lot of teams. If you actually haven't seen him around, like he isn't really like around in the meta, but when he does come to the meta, and you see him in a match, and he's like willed out and everything, like Festival King is a force to be reckoned with. You actually have to be scared when you face a Festival King, because they can actually get you, man. If they all rush on you, this ultimate is wiping you 2 times. It's literally Lost Vein's ultimate, but twice. That's how powerful that shit is. So it's really good. In PvP, he has his viability still. He's a really good CC unit. He's one of the highest CC units in the game. I don't think he is like I think he's still top 5 after SA5, but he's not going to be like 1 or 2 or anymore or anything like that, because he used to be the 2nd highest in the game. But he is still really good, man, and because of that, we're going to give him the 5th slot. The next unit we're going to be going over is going to be the 1 Escanor. The 1 Escanor came out on the 1.5 year Annie for JP, and also the 1 year anniversary for global version of Grand Cross. Let's actually go over the 1 Snore and let you guys know where he's going to be put on the tier list. So the 1 Snore is going to be SSR rarity, blue attribute, human race. For his passive here, the 1 applies 1 buff effect, which increases all stats by 6% at the start of the ally's turn. When there are 3 stacks of this effect, the hero removes debuffs and gains debuff immunity for 1 turn. After that, the stacked buffs are removed 1 by 1 until only 1 effect is left, adding buffs to stack again. So basically how the 1 Snore works is he's going to start with 1 buff at the start of the turn. That's going to be 6% to all stats in the game. Not just your basic stats, all stats. And this buff, you can actually get up to 3 of them and then gain debuff immunity on that turn 3. So when you get 3 stacks of the buff, you're going to get debuff immunity. You're going to have what is that, like 18% to all stats in the game. So all of these just give 18% increase. It's 18% to all of these, just super broken, right? That's just going to be really broken right there. And then, you know, having that with debuff immunity too, you can't be debuffed, you can't be petrified, stunned, attack sealed, nothing like that. The 1 Snore is going to be a force to be reckoned with. For his first skill here, Super Slash inflicts flood damage equal to 500% of attack on 1 enemy. And flood damage is 0.8% additional damage per percent of remaining HP on self. So the higher the HP on the 1 Snore of remaining HP, the more damage this influx card is going to do. So flood, that's basically what influx is on JP. They mean the same thing. So that's the flood card right there. And for his second skill, he's going to inflict damage equal to 600% of attack on 1 enemy. And this is just raw 600% attack. It's just like Red Derriere, where it's just like straight attack damage, nothing else, no like bonus effects or anything like that. And then for the 1 Snore's ultimate, he's going to inflict damage equal to 720% of attack on one enemy, then inflicts additional death damage with death. It's actually 100% of the final damage as additional damage. This death multiplier actually scales from 20% to 100%, so it's not going to be 100% at 1 out of 6. 1 out of 6 is going to be 20%, 720%, right, for the actual damage itself. At 6 out of 6, it's going to be doing double damage and 1080%. As death. So like, you know, death is going to be doing another 1080% on another enemy, right? So that's going to be really potent. You're going to be doing a lot of damage there, and it's actually just going to be super broken. Like, you're guaranteed with the 1 Snore, if you use the death ultimate here, you're guaranteeing to kill 2 people. Like, guaranteed. If you have him 6 out of 6, there's no way someone lives the 1 Snore ultimate and then another unit will live it as well, because it's just not going to work like that. And death also applies on another enemy as well, so it's not just a single target ult. It is single target, but the death part of the damage itself will actually hit another unit if it actually gets the kill on the initial hit. So that's going to be very powerful right there. So where would I rank the 1 Snore on the festival unit tier list? I'm going to give the 1 Snore the second best festival unit in the game slot. And the reason for that is just because the 1 Snore is viable in all content in the game, just like Goddess Elizabeth. He's viable in Tower. He's viable in the Hard Anvil dungeon and Super Awakening Coin dungeon. He's very good in PvP. Definitely top of the meta at the moment in PvP. Probably the best PvP unit in the game at the moment. If we're being realistic, his passive is broken, his stats are broken, his ultimate is broken. Everything about the 1 Snore is just broken. Like, he does not need his ultimate as well, because his flood damage just does so much. He's able to do all content in the game except farming, just like Goddess Elizabeth. Everything he can do is just like Goddess Elizabeth. Except farming, right? He's just broken, absolutely broken. He's good in Red Demon as well. He has viability in demons. He's just broken, man. He's actually just broken. So the 1 Snore, he goes in the second slot. He's not going to be Goddess Elizabeth, because I feel like her viability has actually transcended the 1 Snore in that she has revive, she has the reflect shield, she has her shield that nullifies effects. She's just like literally the best festival in the game, right? She just takes the slot over the 1 Snore. So the next unit we're going to be going over is going to be Assault Mode Meliotis. He came right after the 1 Snore as the like second half of the anniversary, kinda. He was like the Holy War Festival. But Assault Mode Meliotis is going to be the next unit on the tier list here. So we're actually going to go over him and then let you know where he's going to be put on the tier list. So Assault Mode Meliotis is going to be SSR Rarity, Green Attribute, Demon Race. For his passive here, Forgotten Past, if all allies are demons or those with commandments, increase own stats by 5% and decrease defense-related stats of all enemies by 15% for 2 turns when allies take damage. Limit 5 times, applies when entering battle. So basically, Assault Mode Meliotis, every time he takes damage, the defense-related stats of the enemy are going to get lowered. And he's going to be increasing his stats by 5% up to 5 times. So he's going to have more of all stats at the end of his passive stack than the 1 Snore, which is actually insane, right? You're going to have 25% to all stats. So take this and just add 25% onto all of his stats right here, which is already insane, right? Already insane. You're going to have that passive right there. So he's run on the Commandment and Demon teams because he has to use those units to actually abuse his passive, right? If you don't run him with Demons or Commandments, the passive's not going to work, and Assault Meliotis kind of just loses his passive entirely if you run him on a team that doesn't have Demons or Commandments, right? So you always want to run him on teams like those to actually benefit from his passive there. But let's actually hop into his first card right here. So 1,000 Divine Cuts inflicts rupture damage equal to 250% of attack on all enemies. Rupture is ×2 damage against buffed enemies. This skill was kind of meant to counter the Goddess Elizabeth's shield, because the only thing that does not get affected by Goddess Elizabeth's shield is the rupture effect, because it does ×2 damage against buffed enemies. So that's going to be really good right there. For the second skill, it's going to inflict amplified damage equal to 450% of attack on one enemy. And amplify actually coincides with his passive, because he's going to be getting the 5% to all stats, and that's actually a blue buff that goes on Assault Mode Meliotis. So it's going to be 5. So basically you do, from Amplify, if you don't know what Amplify is, it's damage dealt 30% per active buff on self. So the more buffs you have on Assault Mode Meliotis, the more damage the Amplify card's going to do. Also, while you're stacking up all your stats up by 5% each, and you're also lowering the enemy's defense-related stats, this card is going to be an absolute, like, insane amount of damage. It's going to do so much damage, man. Definitely more than the 1 Snore, like, with all of that applied, right? It's going to be super insane. So the amplified damage right there is going to be really good. And then if we move into his ultimate here, increases the hero's basic stats by 50% for 3 turns and inflicts 350% of attack on all enemies. So this card is actually going to scale up to 525% of attack at 6 out of 6, and the hero's basic stats always going to be 50% from 1 out of 6 as well. So I feel like Assault Meliotis at 1 out of 6 is definitely the best 1 out of 6 festival unit in the game. So that's just another thing to know. I feel like because of how his ultimate works, if it's still doing 50% basic stats at 1 out of 6, he's going to be still doing an insane amount of damage. And the basic stat buff that he gets from his ultimate is actually stacked on top of his passive buffs, because these passive buffs are all stats, right? So that's going to be like really nice in synergy, right? You're just going to be getting so much benefit from that. So my ranking for Assault Meliotis on the tier list here, he's going to be in the 4th slot. I would say Assault Meliotis is the 4th best festival unit in the game. And he was the unit that I was saying is a toss-up between 4 and 5 for these slots right here. Because Festival King can be better in some scenarios, and Assault Meliotis can be better in some scenarios as well. I just give the edge to Assault Meliotis because I feel like his viability in PvP is a little bit more than Festival King, and they have about the same viability in PvE as each other, right? Like Assault Meliotis can clear all PvE content in the game, everything in the game basically. He can be used for farming as well because he actually does an AoE on one of his skills, just like Lost Veins, so he does have some viability in farming, and he's also very good on the Anvil and Super Awakening coin stage, so that's very good right there. And then in PvP, he just has more viability in Festival King. I see more Assault Mode teams, and they are just honestly better than the Festival King team, so we're going to give him the edge because of that. Very slight edge though. These two are like interchangeable. I love Assault Mode Meliotis, so we're just going to give him the benefit of the doubt, you know what I mean? But yeah, so now you guys know where the final slot is going to be. Festival Merlin goes in the 3rd slot. We're actually going to go over why she's actually in the 3rd slot here. So let's go over her kit here. So Festival Merlin's going to be coming out on the global version of the game tomorrow. And we actually have her about a month ago on JP, so that's pretty good right there. So Festival Merlin is SSR rarity, green attribute, unknown race. For her passive here, Negotiation with Gods. During the enemy's turn, each enemy skill cannot deal more than 40% of the hero's max HP. Increases the attack-related stats by 1% per 4% of remaining HP when using skills. This is going to be very beneficial because the Merlin basically acts as a green Gother turn 1. So you're going to have 25% attack-related stats because it's 1% per 4% of remaining HP. Because if you have 100% HP, you're going to have 25% attack-related stats at literally turn 1. If you go first, right? And another thing too is you can't take more than 40% of the hero's max HP. So no matter what, you're guaranteed to tank any hit in the entire game. From PvE, PvP, any hit in the entire game, Merlin is able to tank that and only take 40% damage at the most. So if you want to kill Merlin in PvP, you have to use 3 cards guaranteed to kill her. That's the only way you're going to be able to do it. You have to use 3 cards, which is pretty cool. So that's her passive right there. Let's move into her first skill right here. Mana Ballista. Inflicts power strike damage equal to 475% of attack on one enemy. Power strike is additional damage equal to the enemy's resistance. Basically how power strike works is it does additional damage based on the resistance. So if you see the 40% of Merlin, if Merlin was facing another Lolly Merlin in PvP and used the power strike thing, the power strike card would actually do 40% increased damage on top of the power strike because she has 40% resistance. So that's pretty good to know right there. It's also the same card as Sariel, and you know Sariel just does insane amount of damage with this card too. So that's just gonna be another note right there. For Merlin's second skill, it's going to be Double Mana Fusion. This is going to inflict damage equal to 280% of attack on all enemies and infects for 2 turns. This card is actually a brand new infect card because it infects on turn 1 or on rank 1 as well. Which is pretty viable because infect basically restricts recovery related stats. You're not able to lifesteal, you don't get started turn healing, you don't get healing from I think there's like another way you can heal. It's like recovery rate, regeneration, whatever, but you basically restrict all of those healing effects, right? You're not going to be able to get any HP once you're infected unless you use a healing card. So that's going to be pretty beneficial as no one really uses healing cards in PvP right now. No cleanse or nothing like that. So you're just going to be able to apply the infect on the enemy pretty easily. And then for ultimate here, she's going to inflict damage equal to 400% of attack on all enemies. Creates a barrier around all allies equal to 5% of the damage when attacked. No bonus damage effect will be applied excluding Rupture. So basically how Merlin's ultimate works is it's basically you do the ult and you get a Goddess Elizabeth shield, which is going to be very potent, man. Very potent. So her multiplier here scales up to 600% of attack on the damage itself, and the barrier can get 20% of the damage dealt as the shield, which is just super broken, man. If you have her 6 out of 6, she's gonna be tanking once you get that shield up for your entire team. So that's really good right there. But yeah, because of that, I would rank Merlin as the 3rd best festival unit in the game, because she has so much viability in PvE, being that she cannot die turn 1, guaranteed. No matter how hard the content is, Merlin is guaranteed to tank. She's also really viable in PvP recently on JP because of the unknown race meta, with Ram coming out with the ReZero collab and all that. So this is my tier list right here. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Again, this is all my opinion. This is general, all content in the game. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe as always. And if you guys want to see more videos like this, definitely let me know in the comment section below. And I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Peace out and have a great rest of your day.